something new. All right, so welcome guys to week three of Ship Your Side project. Have a full house today, so that's exciting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're capped. If anyone else wants to see, they're gonna have to go to the link. I'm gonna send that link out just in case. To the YouTube page so that any folks who want to see it. We are full at 10, so if you're looking to dial in, please go to this YouTube link. Whew. All right. So we got a same deal as last week, I think, in terms of programming. We're going to do a check-in, talk about the assignments and how those went for you, and then look at the week ahead and have some open discussion for anything that folks want to talk about. Does that sound good? All right, great. So we're going to flip it over here. Oh, wait. I didn't switch to the screen, so you're probably still looking at me. Screen share. Share the entire screen.
You guys see the?
Can you guys see the screen? Someone's got to unmute to tell me.
I can see.
Great.
Great. All right. Week 3 payload assembly. I'm going to start off with a thought here, which is just that, you know, a lot of the work that we've been doing over, you know, the first 2 weeks, I guess, has been really, you know, maybe some of it seems super basic, like, oh, where are you going to work? You know, it seems kind of almost like a silly question, but, you know, hopefully it's, you know, I'm sure I'd like to get your guys' take on it, but something that is going to be, lay the foundation, sort of, it's the base that you build off of. Like, if where you're working isn't stable or it isn't like work, it isn't, you know, doing what it needs to do for you, it's hard for anything else to happen. And the way to think about it, I guess, there's 2 ways, you know, there's 2 analogies I have. The first is from my own life, like with gymnastics, and I'm sure you've seen this with ballet, is like the foundational movements in gymnastics include like a handstand. You're always working your handstand. Like, there's no point in time where you're too good to work on handstands because handstands form such a core element of gymnastics. And I'm sure that in ballet there are probably foundational movements that you can come back to.
I mean, we call ballet the foundation style. It allows you to do everything else better. So anyone who does tap or modern or jazz needs to go to ballet class in order to excel. And
so the other metaphor here is the skyscraper. Right, you know, one way to think about skyscrapers is if you want to know how tall they're going to make a building, you look at how deep they're going to make the foundation. Because without a deep foundation, you just can't build something really tall because it needs that strong base. So don't need to wax too much on that, but just a thought as we move into, you know, further into the program. So we're going to start with a stand-up. We're going to say one thing that went well with your project this week and one thing you're looking forward to about your project for next week. I'm going to flip it back over to us here. Great, and let's go in reverse order because Adam, you always end up being first. I'm going to flip it up. Morgan, you're going to start. I'm going to go backwards. So tell us how things have been going.
Well, something that went well was I actually have a working prototype at this point. I managed to keep to my 15 minutes a day every day except one, and there was a party at my other job and had to stay late, and that's when my time is. So I figured, okay, have a little fun. Why not? The working prototype is awesome. I'm really excited about actually building on top of that now and doing a lot more revision and polish.
Awesome. Thanks, Morgan. And definitely the cheat day is there for a reason. To help you feel good about making progress, even when one day out of the week is out. Marshall, you're up.
Sorry about that. So yeah, it was a good week. About three pretty exciting things happened. One, we started talking to suppliers to get kind of accurate quotes on the socks there. The other one was we found a good subscription payment platform. So it's called CrateJoy. They're specifically designed for recurring payments. Shopify was having all sorts of issues with charging on an ongoing basis, and they take way less in terms of the percent of the actual sale too. So that was exciting. And then we also figured for the initial get going payment, we could even implant a tilt onto our landing page to kind of do our own Kickstarter over on our landing page itself. So that could just be a good way to get over the hump of the initial payment for a physical good company. So yeah, we're exploring all of those, and then all the pieces are coming together. Then we're gonna have to tie the bow on it and pull it all into one place. So yep.
Awesome. Sounds like a lot of good progress. Mario, you're up.
Okay, so what went well this week? I think what the easy things that I planned to do seemed to be really easy. Like the timeline I was planning to do, I started this week to work on it. I mean, the suggested timeline for parents is being really easy because it's actually very simple. It's just a web page, and I have to do some research of the content. And also, I've been able to work much more than I was planning, so I'm happy with that. I've been working 2 or 3 hours per day on it. And also, I talked to some beta testers this week, and they are all excited waiting for the product so they can test. Well, something that didn't went well is unexpected tasks. I guess when I was planning this software, there's always something that we are missing. And for me to achieve my milestones, I'm realizing that some smaller tasks, I will have to add them to my plan. So this is something that I considered it wasn't expected. Okay.
Sounds good. So it sounds like those are the things you're going to need to work on for next week.
Yes, I think everything will be all right.
All right. Joe, you are up.
Nice. Unmute. This week was good. I really liked the 15 minutes. I have also the little toolbar thing. It's not momentum. I don't know what that's called. The little checkbox, which was really good, and found myself going to bed a little bit and then being like, oh no, I got to go do my 15, 20 minutes. So that was great. And I mostly just did some user testing or just user research. I utilized some contacts at some places I'm consulting right now, and found out that we had I think it was 70 SaaS products, and most people didn't even know. The head of IT didn't even know how many we actually had. So it was interesting just starting to learn about this, and I have a couple more in-depth user researchers user interviews set up for next week. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, that's kind of my progress so far.
All right, Danny, Marshall talked a little bit about what have been sort of you guys had done this week, but maybe you can talk a little about what you're looking forward to for next week. We can't hear you. try opening it up and then like try copying the link, closing out, and then reopening it in a new tab.
Well, maybe Danny can go. Once we figure this all out, we can skip him and go back, maybe? I don't.
Sorry, Danny. We got to pass on you. Chris, you're up.
Hey, can you guys hear me? All right. So this week was a little rough just because of some turmoil in my big job. But I had some really good sort of user research type conversations that actually found a number of folks, not just for San Francisco, but for other places who are kind of already acting as sort of doing their own small business of the service that I want to provide. So I thought that was really helpful to hear about how they sort of charge people and how they find customers and how they sort of think about that. So that was fantastic. In terms of next week, what I'm really excited to do is I've been doing some sketching, but trying to translate some of that stuff into a first prototype because I find that one of the things that's a little bit challenging is communicating exactly what I'm trying to do, and I think having something really tangible to share with people and actually have to play around with will be really helpful, and also just force me to like go from something that's quite nebulous to try and create like essentially a first product.
Awesome. Bryce, tell us how things went.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay? Cool. So yeah, so this week I really focused on trying to figure out what the unknowns are for me, what I need to focus on in terms of user research and figuring out, how I can get evidence to back up my assumptions and all that kind of stuff in order to move forward. And I think I really have some focus now, so I'm looking forward in the next week to actually lining up some user interviews. I also have been working on some screen mock-ups so I can get some feedback on kind of UX flow and things like that. And also, something I was hoping to put off till later, but this next week I'm going to have to get started early. So my entire prototype right now is built on Parse, which some of you may have heard is now shutting down. So I don't want to do any new features on that backend. So I'm going to have to start, taking the fundamentals out of that and putting it into something new. So that's what's going on.
Yeah, that's it's roadblocks always come up. It sucks. Actually, Parse was part of the same Y Combinator class that I was part of, so I saw them posting that it was like a sad day, and at least it seems like they're giving folks a year to get off, which is a pretty long time, but it's still it's a lot for folks to have to find a new home for their apps. Adrian, you're up. Welcome.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay? This is my first call actually. I've been on vacation, so I'm jumping into the program a bit late. Also, when I got back, I got sick, which was unfortunate, so need to catch up on some things. But been sort of catching up on the emails and everything. Just to give a quick description of what I'm working on, I am live in Brooklyn. I am I'm trying to set up a workspace outside the city to rent out for a day to people in New York who are looking for a way to get out and get some focus in a quiet, beautiful place to get all their stuff done. So I'm actually in the space right now. Highlight for this week, big highlight actually, was I got a couple customers who are willing to try it out. And the prototype space is at my buddy's place in Putnam Valley. So I'm actually in the room right now, and it's awesome. So we're going to put up a whiteboard and, yeah, just keep rolling. Next week, I want to start figuring out how to build a strong static site for this. And as a designer, I've just gotten into a trap of going too deep on that, trying to build it from scratch and dealing with bugs and all that kind of stuff. So I'll probably mess around with Squarespace this week and just see if I can get something simple up fast and take it from there.
Squarespace is great. Also, if you want to try Sempless, it's pretty good too. Allows a little bit more. Sorry?
Sorry, what was the name of that one?
Sempless.
How do you spell it?
SEMPLICE. It allows a little bit more customization.
Great. I'll check that out. Thanks.
LaunchRock too. We've used LaunchRock for a few side projects. It's pretty good as
How do you
well.
spell that?
LA.
Mind typing those into the group chat just because it's easier. We really appreciate that. Thanks.
All right, Adam, you're up.
All right. Welcome, Adrian, and Bryce on the parse. My heart goes out to you on that one too. I think there's a lot of people who are hit by that. On the upside, they're gonna open source the platform, but then you have to run it yourself. So, this week I was traveling, and this was actually one of 2 weeks that I'm traveling for work that I was kind of anxious about. Had anxiety over with this program. I managed to get all but one day, get some time in. I had to skip a group dinner to be able to do that one of the nights, and actually got a nice chunk of time that night. So so that was probably the upside. I have lots of writing to hit the first milestone, and so I'm happy to have this week back in town and be able to really dive in to that. And it was good last week that I was able to still get some significant stuff done, given that it's really hard when you've got sort of travel with work and lots of other people traveling and all that. So yeah, that was good.
Awesome. Well, sounds like pretty productive weeks overall, and a couple new things come up as they do with projects, but coming up with a plan to deal with those seems good. And props to you, Adam, for skipping out on the group dinner. It's definitely, we can always feel that pressure to show up to group events, but definitely it seems like you got to let them. So.
Well, the one day I missed, I went to another group dinner. So. I split it.
Yeah, fair. Cool. Well, this kind of leads in a little bit. You talked about some of the milestones that you have to hit. We had 2 assignments this week. One was around your setup, your lab, and one was around around the milestones themselves. And then we also had the interview with Brian, who, funny enough, it was Brian's 30th birthday. So he had a birthday party, which you might not be surprised by, but he organized. It was everyone was split into groups and had to come up with dances based on songs that were selected for you. Pretty intense. But
there were 4 judging categories. It was choreography, set design, overall performance, and
costume design.
Costume design, right?
Yeah.
So intense.
But so he's a cool guy. But I wanted to hear a little bit about people's reactions. I a lot of people have sent in their milestones, or sent in their locations and their workspaces to the list, which is great. But I wanted to hear in general how that landed with folks, if that came up with ideas, or people had questions, and we'll just kind of open this up.
Well, to me, the milestones were huge. I hadn't really thought about breaking it down into anything other than just, I thought the 6 weeks already was narrowing the scope. So sort of forcing me to think of it into two milestones really helped to organize stuff for me.
Okay, go first. Go ahead.
Oh, me? All right. I was saying on the on the Brian interview. I really liked him walking through his process of doing a project, both setting the time frame, the idea part, and then also his planning on the early side of just figuring out what are all the processes, kind of doing some pretty serious project management. And it just seemed like a really good process. And also when he said that he wanted to have be more defined by his process and his total output as opposed to like one individual project. That was really interesting to me. All right, it's all you.
Okay. So as also the milestones was an important assignment for me. I thought it was very interesting to break into smaller pieces. And also, as I mentioned on email on the thread there, I think it's not easy to break into things for me when I have a macro vision of the thing, but sometimes it's not so easy to understand all the pieces involved because so many things they appear in the middle or as obstacles. And I also think that, how can I say, it's hard for me as a programmer and to start to code and doing things that are not scalable. I'm pretty focused on this time frame, and sometimes I know that to do the thing in the fastest way to accomplish, to have something shipped, sometimes I get myself repeating code, and that kind of hurts me. But I think it is the right way to do to keep things on this time frame. I don't know how you guys, also programmers, think about it. If you're trying to do in the perfect way, or if you're thinking, no, I know it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be visually good. Usually, it's going to be usable, and that's okay for this time frame. I'd like also to hear your opinions on it.
Yeah, I am a programmer. What my project doesn't involve very much programming, but even in the writing and researching part, I've been pulling things out as I'm working on each section, and I realize, oh, that thing that I thought was going to be, quick and easy, a half hour to do, is now several hours. I need to pull it out. I don't get rid of it completely. I make a note of, this was a thing I wanted to do and wanted to do better. And I hope that I'll be able to revisit it, but I don't want that hurdle to keep me from the bigger picture. And I know that's tough to it's tough to write code that you're not as proud of, right? But I think if it gets you to a bigger picture fast, then you can kind of go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where the milestones are that valuable reminder of it's so easy to get sucked into, adjusting the way something looks, or, you want to get some research perfectly correct, or you want to get some piece that's just like really frustrating to you personally, right? There's you as the manager, and then there's you as like the technician, and you have to kind of juggle both sides of that. I don't know if what you guys thought about that research. Like, I really like some of the social psychology research around these things. I don't know if that lands for you guys, but I can keep pulling those out and sharing them with you. The one about the students with the proximal versus distal goals, and the fact that it's literally they chose kids who couldn't do division, so they couldn't break it up themselves. They had to be told. I don't know if that stuff is interesting, or if you'd rather just jump right to the assignment or have something else.
I think it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to second that one. I think it's definitely interesting, and I very much welcome more of that.
Cool. Well, we can leave a little bit of time at the end, but let's flip back to the next part of the week. So I'm going to share the screen again.
Sorry, guys. I actually have to skip out early today, but if you want to get in touch, please do.
That's good. I'll see you later. All right. So we stood up. You guys can see the screen, right?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. See the screen, stand up. We had some discussions. So we're moving into week 3. In week 3, this is exciting. You're coming up on the halfway mark of this program. Happened so quick. this is a big week for us. There are 3 things that we're going to be doing. Oh, let me get that right. But Sunday morning, so that's tomorrow, we're going to be sending out something like a project called Mine Your Past. And what that's going to be about is looking at looking at like previous projects that you've done, either side project or work projects, and thinking about what went well and what worked and what like kind of got you stuck, what like tripped you up, and how can you sort of address that. So I think it's really good because oftentimes what we find is that we have patterns, we have things that sort of happen to us over and over again, and it's the things that we do well for a particular reason and method, and things that we get stuck on are kind of like variations on the same thing. And so sometimes getting explicit about that can help you sort of plan for yourself and plan for your own projects. So that's going to be Mind Your Past. And then in the afternoon on Monday, we're going to share an interview with Rachel Nash. Rachel is a designer at Etsy, where I work. I actually met her when she was at a previous company called TimeHop, which some of you may have heard of. It's that sort of like nostalgia sharing app. But Rachel on the side has an Etsy shop where she makes handmade jewelry, and she is pretty prolific and has a lot of stuff for sale, and makes the jewelry herself and sells it herself, has it in shops, and not only selling it on Etsy. And so I think she's got a great interview and thoughts to share on how she's able to manage literally a side business while she's doing a pretty intense job as a product designer at Etsy. And then finally, on Wednesday afternoon, we're gonna do sort of a bigger piece, and it's the mid-program check-in. So this is basically a chance to look and think about, how is the program working for you overall? What are the things that are really working? What are the things that you need to address, or like do you need to, like, given where you're at, do you want to adjust your milestones? Do you want to adjust what you want to hit for the end? And I want everyone to share, as part of the midweek program or mid-program check-in, a screenshot or some kind of like image or document or something, and you can blur out things that that need to be blurred out, but like some sort of tangible component of your progress. So this is sort of like a prelude to the final week where we're going to sort of share what we've shipped. But this is sort of like you're midway through, you're going to look at how things are going, and you're going to share with the group, some sort of evidence, some sort of progress coming out of the work that you've been doing. So that's what's coming up, and I'm really excited about these 3 pieces. I know we talked about this last week, but I'll cover it again, and we have some new folks on the call. Thinking about your values, thinking about our values. I really feel like we've been constructive. I see people sharing different things with each other. Even as funny as we have this. Seems like both Josh Pinter and Mario have worked with the same kind of like regulation software for industry. So it's really just funny the different types of ways that we can collaborate. I'm hearing Danny and Marshall be really resourceful as they figure out a way to get payments done with their product. You guys are all really giving this a shot. I see you throwing things out there, trying new things. You're staying focused. You're looking at the big picture. Mario, and the fact that you're not getting derailed with your programming. You're pushing yourself. I hear you guys are. Joe, you said that like you even before you go to bed, you're getting back up and you're working on your project, and that's what this is about. It's only 15 minutes. You're not killing yourself, but it's important to keep that pace up. Having patience. It's not happening overnight. I think you guys all recognize that you're making enormous progress, probably more progress than you've made in a long time, and yet there's still so much more to go. Amanda and I started planning this project, this Ship Your Side project program, in, I want to say, September of last year. So it's taken that long, to get to now and having, you all here in the program. But, it's absolutely been worth it. And so just knowing that the payoff is going to come. And finally, you're all doing this. You're sharing how things are working for you. You're writing into the list. I've been checking Slack a little bit. And, Joe, I love that you're still championing that. So yeah, that is sort of the conclusion of the main part of the program. I want to know if folks have any other questions or things that they want to talk about that we haven't been able to talk about so far.
I've got something, and actually it's related to, you asked about it in the interview this week, and that was sort of how you handle the day job and the side projects, and especially when it comes to, at the end of this, we're all going to be public about it. And so I've sort of started to feel some anxiety over that because I haven't been saying, hey, people I work with, I also am working on this thing. And, it's not competitive with my work. It is tangentially related to the work that I do. But I guess just how others have sort of approached that, or if anyone else has a plan, or of course advice for how to handle that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from other folks. I can share where I'm coming from, but I'd love to hear from the group.
Can I go? Okay. For me, it's also not so easy because I have a company with some partners, and we don't have let's see, a 9 to 5 time shift. We have our assignments. We have to show our job. So having a side job, a side project, I am always afraid they might think that I could be working more on our company. So, but I approached my partner. I talked to him that I was doing this, and it's fine. But I prefer to talk to him before he would know from somewhere else.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I actually was just gonna jump in real quick. So I've been working on the like full time on starting this real estate startup, and me and my co-founder for that actually shipped like these 3 other side projects over the last like 6 weeks or so, and we actually just we led a seminar on Thursday, I think, where we just basically had this slide deck of like 30 different slides, and we went through like a bunch of the technical tools we use to spin that up, in terms of like what we use to throw up a landing page, like how we went about driving initial traffic and everything. So I'll go ahead and link that to you guys, and hopefully it could be a little bit helpful just to narrow down, once you have the actual dev work done, how to get things spun up in terms of actually getting your sites going and initial traffic through.
Thanks, Marshall. That's really helpful. To address, and I think that like that relates to sort of like the going public about it. I think, every company is a little bit different in terms of how they do things, and I think Etsy is pretty open because a lot of people have Etsy shops, so that's clearly, a side thing, and that's maybe why they, and I'm trying to open an Etsy shop because we work for Etsy sellers, so it's sort of weird if I don't, or doesn't seem to make sense. But, there are forms that we can fill out to register our side projects so that people know, and I don't know if that's something that your company might do, but it might be interesting to kind of fill out to acknowledge. And I would think about it this way, like when you have a kid, and some of you do have kids, it's a lot of work. It's probably way more work than you've been putting into your side project, and somehow that's okay, right? That's not a distraction. That's not like this or that. We've all accepted that if you have a kid, you are doing a lot of things, related to your kid, and that's okay. And I think, it's not saying side projects can be children, but like when you share it, framing it from the perspective of like, this is just something I'm so passionate about, something I'm so excited about. I've been thinking about it for such a long time, and like I just feel like people need this, or like, this is just a really good learning exercise for me, or it's something I've been like, chipping away at over nights and weekends, and just making sure people understand that this is, something you bring everything to your job every day, and sharing it from that perspective, helping them understand like why you're so into this, can make it more relatable and makes it easier for them to be like, oh, cool, that's awesome that you did that, rather than like, what is this? Are you planning to like quit your job and do this instead? Sort of perspective. Does that help?
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
It was interesting to know have like forms to fill out, because I'm still a company where they're gonna make me a full-time offer at some point. So I didn't know, like, at that point, do I have to like stop, or I don't know. So I guess that's a good question to ask.
So usually, and I did this with mine. I filled out a previous invention thing when I joined, and so it's sort of this was what I was doing before, and so it kind of excludes it. I mean, you'll want to check the legal language, but yeah, you should have something to kind of declare it.
Awesome. Well, as always, if we want to start other conversations, we can in the thread. Seems like it's been pretty active, but not overwhelmingly so. Would everyone kind of agree with that? I feel like it's at a good volume, so let's keep that going. And we'll definitely check in. So tomorrow you'll get the next assignment, which is mining your past. I think this will be a fun one, and we'll go from there. And thanks for the feedback on the research. So I'll continue including that in the assignments. All right, guys. Have a good afternoon. Take care.
Yeah. Thanks.
See you guys.
Bye bye.
See you soon.